Goggles, written by Charity Wilson. In the calm Cornish waters of the Jubilee Pool, nestled safe in the shelter of its broad pearly walls, lived a solitary someone, a curious thing, a flappy-toed penguin in a round rubber ring, with bright squeaky armbands worn tight on his flippers, and a patched puffer life vest with whistles and zippers. And bridging his beak, a sight that just boggles, for this water-winged waddler wore red rubber goggles. And Goggles we'll call him. It seems a good name, for a bird who sought safety in sunshine or rain, in mist-motes or mizzle, in fog-sputtered blusts, in squib-squally downpours or sun-dappled gusts. Goggles had learned how to minimise danger, a brisk risk assessor, a lone safety ranger. But at night, in the darkness, his fears flocked and whirled, so he hugged himself snugly till his dreamland unfurled. His universe, the Lido, its pool, a whole ocean. Of the wide world beyond, this small bird had no notion. Until, waking one morning from a glorious dream of jellyfish fingers and pilchard ice cream, he noticed a shadow in the water below, a fast-moving shape that started to grow, bigger and closer, until with a splonk it broke through the surface and started to honk. Honk, cried the something, and honk rang the walls, a ping-pong of honking, of echoes and calls. In a frenzy of flippers and whiskers and fur, it looped round the Lido one round bouncy blur. Then, stopping as swiftly as it had begun, it flumped on a cushion to bask in the sun. Ow! Cried the cushion, almost unheard, till the rump roll revealed one flat little bird. Scooping the droopling with care from its place, it gazed at the penguin, then honked in his face. Rats! Muttered Goggles, feeling rumpled and rotten. Then the thing whirled him over and sniffed his bare bottom. This startled poor Goggles. Oh, goodness! Oh, heavens! It's not the done thing. Perhaps up in Devon? This way out, said Goggles, pointing over the wall. So the creature departed, then returned with a ball. However far he launched it, and he gave it a whack, the ball and its owner just kept coming back. So the bird took his chance, dashing clean out of sight, to hide in the hush of his cubby all night. But just as he'd settled and latch-locked the door, his nest began thrumming with a long, honking snore. This whiskery what's-it snored louder and wetter, the penguin composing a strong-worded letter. Still yawning at dawn, Goggles pondered a school. If the honker was staying, he needed some rules. Hours became days, became weeks, maybe more, and teaching the creature was a long, thankless chore, like feeding herb salad to a megalosaur. New rules unspooled in an unending list. Too many to write here, but I'll give you the gist. No diving or bombing, don't slide down the stairs, don't quarrel with pigeons or joyride pushchairs, don't pee in the showers or parp in the pool, don't pick it and flick it, don't pick it at all. No spitting or honking or stealing ice cream, don't lick old plasters, you know where they've been. No pranking or spanking or making a mess. Just follow the rules. Or at least try your best." Brian, the sea lion, had you guessed what he was? Nodded sincerely, barely breathing because, as long as he stayed still, not moving at all, he couldn't cause chaos. Not him or his ball. But Ball did seem gloomy, a sad, sorry sight. Should he push it? Just gently. Maybe tap it, quite light. Tap, roll, tap, roll, tap, bump, bump, boink. Yay! Thwack, doink, crack, wallop, a rumpus of play. Then a fluster of feathers, and something was broken. Goggles' goggles were snapped, cross words were spoken. Flat ears and flat whiskers, feeling wretched and wrong, Brian sank through the water, and then he was gone. Peace, perfect peace, all order restored. Goggles savoured the silence of the home he adored. No more licking or honking or towel ninja whips, no silly beak tweaks or begging for chips. But as he spied Brian's bed, a tear filled his eye, a lump filled his stomach, and he wasn't sure why. Life was now normal, safe and polite, so why did it feel like the world wasn't right? His heart had a hole that traced a sea lion, an unfixable hole, unless he found Brian. Before he could think, his heart beat a plan, so he blew up his lilo and packed his all-bran. He set sail with gusto, specs tied on with string, his inflatable flying like a real pair of wings. Beyond the safe harbour and through the sea spray, into swells that propelled him out of Mounts Bay, the landlights diminished to the tiniest specks, and he wondered if sailing might beef up his pecs. A strange new horizon would melt and reform, sometimes still, sometimes rolling, sometimes punctured with storms. Each unknown seascape astounded, enlightened, but so far from home, Goggles only felt frightened. He remembered his egghood, how his pengpa had called, "Always stay safe," then crossed over the wall. The hand-me-down goggles had been left behind, and when the little bird tried them, it brought pengpa to mind. Goggles had been most careful, no danger or fun. It was quite boring, really. Life hadn't begun. So he squashed down his fears and said "Pfft" to his troubles, searching harder for Brian amid seaweed and bubbles. Right round the ocean and almost back home, how he ached for a cup of hot chocolate with foam. As Cornwall's great cliffs came clear into view, he heard a commotion, a proper to-do. The Isle of St. Clement's near Mousehole appeals to a grey fairy bob of big-bellied seals, who bicker and barge and shuffle and plonk, but do not play ball games and aren't known to honk. As Goggles got closer, he saw a ball bound and a Brian charge after it as keen as a hound. Sprawling seals tutted at the raucous offender, their plump faces pinched by huge ear defenders. Goggles just smiled. Yes, the noise was the worst. But Brian, oh Brian, could a penguin's heart burst? In the calm Cornish waters of the Jubilee Pool, nestled safe in the shelter of its broad pearly walls, live a pair of best buddies, two curious things, one whiskered and furred, one feathered and winged. The first is befuddled by good etiquette. He picks, licks and flicks every chance he can get. The latter is smattered with scars from each spree to fine far-flung harbours and uncharted seas. Danger's no stranger, he's not easily shook. but he still wears his goggles. It's a pretty good look.
Goggles by Charity Wilson. Read by Connie Crosby. Recorded by Sound AF. These stories were created from a Writing for Children writers' room led by writer Anna Wilson and the Writers' Block.